The story of Queen Esther. Long ago in a faraway land, there lived a mighty king named King Xerxes. He ruled over the biggest kingdom anyone had ever seen, 127 different places from India all the way to Ethiopia. It was like being the king of the whole world. King Xerxes loved to show everyone how wonderful and rich his kingdom was. He decided to throw the most amazing party that had ever been seen. The celebration lasted for many, many days, with golden cups sparkling in the sunlight, the most delicious food you could imagine, and beautiful music that made everyone want to dance. But then something unexpected happened. When the king asked Queen Vashti to join his grand party, she refused to come. This made King Xerxes very upset, and poor Queen Vashti had to leave the palace forever. Now, the great king needed to find a new queen. The king's helpers searched throughout the entire kingdom, looking for the kindest and most beautiful young woman to become the new queen. In the busy capital city lived a sweet young Jewish girl named Esther. When she was very little, her mommy and daddy went to heaven, but her loving cousin Mordecai took care of her as if she were his own precious daughter. Mordecai taught Esther to always be kind to others and to love God with all her heart. Even though Esther wasn't rich or from a royal family, she grew up to be beautiful, both inside and out. She had a gentle spirit, she helped anyone who needed it, and she always tried to do what was right. When the king's messengers came to their neighborhood looking for young women to bring to the palace, they noticed Esther right away. Her beauty wasn't just on the outside. There was something special about her heart that made people feel happy just being around her. At the magnificent palace, Esther was given the most beautiful dresses and learned all about being a princess. But she kept one very important secret. She didn't tell anyone that she was Jewish, because wise Mordecai had told her to wait for just the right time. When the great day came for King Xerxes to choose his new queen, something wonderful happened. The moment he saw Esther, the king could tell that she wasn't just pretty to look at. She had the most beautiful heart he had ever seen. Without any doubt in his mind, King Xerxes placed a sparkling golden crown upon Esther's head and declared her to be his queen. All the people in the palace cheered and celebrated, but Esther quietly thanked God in her heart, knowing that he had brought her to this special place. Every day, faithful Mordecai would sit by the palace gate, hoping to hear news about his beloved Esther. One afternoon, he overheard two angry men whispering about a terrible plan to hurt King Xerxes. Mordecai knew he had to act quickly to save the king. He sent an urgent message to Queen Esther, telling her about the dangerous plot. Brave Esther immediately went to the king and warned him about what was going to happen. Thanks to Mordecai's sharp ears and Esther's quick action, the king caught the bad men before they could hurt anyone. The king was so grateful that he wrote Mordecai's good deed in his special royal book, though he forgot to reward him right away. But God would remember this kind act for later. In the king's palace worked a very proud and selfish man named Haman. He thought he was the most important person in the whole kingdom and expected everyone to bow down and worship him like he was a king himself. But whenever Haman walked by, good Mordecai refused to bow down. He would stand tall and straight because he knew that only God deserved to be worshipped, not any person, no matter how important they thought they were. This made Haman absolutely furious. His anger burned hotter when he discovered that Mordecai was Jewish. In his wickedness, Haman came up with the most terrible plan anyone could imagine. Haman went to King Xerxes and told him lies about the Jewish people. He convinced the king to sign a law that would allow all the Jewish people in the entire kingdom to be destroyed on one terrible day. But Haman didn't tell the king that beautiful Queen Esther was Jewish too. When Mordecai heard about this horrible law, his heart broke into a million pieces. He tore his clothes and wept loudly, mourning for all his people who were now in terrible danger. He sent a message to Queen Esther, begging her to help save their people. But Esther was frightened. She knew that if anyone, even the queen, went to see the king without being invited, they could be put to death. Her hands trembled as she sent a message back to Mordecai, explaining why she was afraid to help. Then Mordecai sent back the most important message of all. He reminded Esther that maybe, just maybe, God had allowed her to become queen for exactly this reason, to save her people when they needed help the most. Perhaps she had been chosen for such a time as this. Esther spent 3 whole days praying and fasting, asking God to give her courage. She also asked all her servants and friends to pray for her too. Finally, she made the bravest decision of her entire life. She would risk everything to save her people. On the 3rd day, Queen Esther put on her most beautiful royal robes and walked slowly toward the king's throne room. Her heart was beating so fast she thought everyone could hear it, but she trusted that God would be with her. When King Xerxes saw his beloved queen standing at the entrance, instead of being angry that she came uninvited, his face lit up with joy. He held out his golden scepter toward her, which meant she was welcome and safe. The king was so happy to see Esther that he promised to give her anything she wanted, even half of his kingdom. But wise, Esther had a plan. She invited the king and Haman to join her for a special dinner that very evening. At the dinner, when the king again asked what she wanted, Esther surprised everyone by inviting them both to come back for another dinner the next day. She would tell them her request then. That night, something amazing happened. King Xerxes couldn't fall asleep no matter how hard he tried. He asked his servant to read to him from his special book of royal records. And what do you think they read about? The story of how Mordecai had saved the king's life. The king realized he had never properly thanked Mordecai for saving his life. Early the next morning, he made Haman give Mordecai a royal parade through the city, with everyone cheering and celebrating the hero who had saved their king. That evening, at the second dinner, Queen Esther knew it was time to be brave and tell the truth. With her heart pounding but her voice steady, she finally revealed her secret to the king. She told King Xerxes that she was Jewish, and that the evil law Haman had tricked him into signing would destroy her and all her people. She pointed directly at Haman and declared that he was the enemy who wanted to hurt innocent families throughout the kingdom. King Xerxes was absolutely furious when he realized how Haman had deceived him. The king had been tricked into signing a law that would hurt his own beloved queen. In his anger, the king stormed out of the room to think about what terrible thing Haman had done. When the king returned, he found Haman begging Queen Esther for mercy, falling down before her couch. This made the king even more angry. "How dare you bother my queen in her own palace?" he shouted. The king's guards immediately covered Haman's face and took him away. Then one of the king's wise servants said, "Your Majesty, do you know what Haman built in his yard? He built tall gallows, a place to hang people, because he planned to hang good Mordecai, the man who saved your life." When King Xerxes heard this, he made a final decision about Haman's punishment. And so, the very gallows that wicked Haman had built to hurt innocent Mordecai became the place where Haman himself was punished for his evil plans. It was like God was showing everyone that when people try to hurt others, their own wickedness comes back to them. But there was still one big problem. Even the king couldn't change a law once it was written. So King Xerxes did the next best thing. He wrote a brand new law that said all the Jewish people had the right to protect themselves and fight back against anyone who tried to hurt them. When the dangerous day finally arrived, something wonderful happened. God protected his people in every city and town throughout the kingdom. The Jewish families were able to stay safe, and their enemies couldn't harm them at all. There was so much happiness and celebration everywhere. The Jewish people declared that they would remember this amazing day forever by celebrating a special holiday called Purim every single year. Queen Esther and Mordecai watched all the celebrations with grateful hearts, knowing that God had used them to save their people. Even though God's name isn't written anywhere in their story, his loving protection and perfect timing could be seen in every single thing that happened. And so, dear little ones, just like brave Queen Esther, God has a special plan and purpose for your life too. He has placed you exactly where you are, with a family who loves you, in this exact time and place for very important reasons. Maybe you're here for such a time as this too. Always remember that even when you can't see God working, He is always there, watching over you with love, guiding your steps, and preparing you for the wonderful things He has planned for your future. Sweet dreams, precious children, and may you rest peacefully knowing that God loves you more than all the stars in the sky.